Hi, everyone. This is Jose Velasquez with HireMilitary. And today we are going to spend a little time with a good friend of mine. His name is Adam Shaw. He's a recently transitioned veteran, and he has a really unique story, a really unique experience as he transitioned. And so we're really looking forward to hearing from him and getting some perspective on the transition process, and hopefully some advice for those of you who are in that process right now or who are getting closer to it. I invite you to go ahead and comment, ask some questions, and we're going to make every effort to jump on there and answer those questions for you. And of course, any questions that you might have for the HireMilitary program itself, we'll be glad to answer those for you. So Adam, welcome to the program, and I'm sending it over to you. Tell us more about yourself.
Hey, Jose, thank you for inviting me. I mean, it's a real privilege to be able to share my experience and help the transition service members, especially now during the time of COVID. It's having both of us have just gone through that. It just adds an extra layer of challenge on top of that. So I came up as a broadcast journalist, spent most of my time at the American Forces Network, spent 9 years overseas at the American Forces Network, most of that in Germany, also Korea. In my final assignment, I was actually assigned to downtown Chicago in the office of the Army Chief of Public Affairs. Downtown Chicago, across the street from City Hall. I walk past Lori Lightfoot every day. It was just me, a master sergeant, and a lieutenant colonel, just by ourselves. And we were responsible for the Midwest. And we put on a lot of influencer events, so opportunities for business leaders, government leaders, civic leaders, the nonprofits, a lot of things to inform them about what the Army is doing and the way forward. So we bring a lot of senior leaders from the Pentagon to come talk to them, which was a great opportunity, especially for a transition service member, because it put me in the same room with a lot of key individuals, decision makers, hiring managers, CEOs, presidents of companies. And I spent 4 years here. I was actually very happy that I was able to do my last 3.5 years in the Army here, which I can't tell you how much that helped me with my perspective getting out. I was a first sergeant at Fort Hood before I came here. And quite honestly, I can't even imagine having to get out from that point, because I learned so much working with the civilian community the last 3.5 years.
Yeah, I mean, and just, to be fair and honest and transparent with everybody, Adam's my friend. And so he and I are Facebook friends. So I was a little jealous watching all the awesome things that he was doing and the people he was meeting while he was in the Midwest. So it was so incredible to watch his experience, but it was so unique. And one of the reasons that we brought him on was because he didn't have a traditional experience coming out of the service. And I know that there are a lot of recruiters, there are a lot of people who work at MEP stations. There are a lot of you who are, who want to participate in the HireMilitary program or other DoD SkillBridge programs and are open and adventurous enough to want to go away from, Fortress Bragg or Fortress, Hood or, whatever it might be, and the surrounding community. And so for those people, I was hoping that maybe you can share some of your experience in doing that there and what it entailed, and what advice you might have for others.
Yeah, so a great point. And we also have the Corps of Engineers in downtown Chicago. We have the new Army marketing group. So they have about 30 soldiers. They're downtown Chicago now. So there is a presence of active duty soldiers now. But the closest thing we have, the closest base is 5 hours away. And we have a Navy Great Lakes, which is close as well. So there is not a lot of Army presence here, but we do have a really tight-knit community. And one of the things that I found in Chicago, particularly, which was a huge benefit, is that it is a Midwest city. Even though it's a huge city, it has that Midwest, very favorable towards military attitude. They want to help service members. There's a lot of nonprofits that help service members in transition. You have USO of Illinois, and the Midwest is right here in Chicago, downtown. In fact, I lived 2 blocks away from them. And they have their transition program. You have the American Legion, which is another group of people that kind of took me under the wing and helped me along the way with mentorship. And then you have the Pritzker Library. You have all these groups of people. You just got to go find them. MVP here in Chicago, emerging veterans and players. So there's a lot of organizations that are here to help. And being here, I'm able to see that. But if you were at a Fort Hood, you wouldn't know where to start. Right. And I think that's where programs like this and really doing your research, the Hiring Our Heroes program, which is absolutely incredible. They have a cohort here in Chicago. They'll plug you in. So you can't be afraid. You got to take that leap and get into where the jobs are. The jobs are in Chicago. They're in the major cities. If you're looking to advance your career and you're looking to kind of upward mobility, you got to go where the jobs are. And there's so much opportunity here. And I can tell you, working with CEOs and business leaders, they're constantly asking me, where are the veterans? I want to hire veterans now. Where are they?
Yeah.
They're in Bragg, they're at Hood, they're transitioning from these big bases. There isn't a line right here, but there's so many opportunities, and employers want to hire veterans.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people advocating for that here.
Yeah. Well, I know that there are quite a few, organizations that support veterans, obviously across the country. The hard part is linking them up with, linking the veterans up with those organizations because they're so plentiful. But in your particular instance, you ended up at a company called Magellan.
That's right.
And Montego's asking, how did the networking help your experience, in landing the job you have? Great question, Montego.
It's why I have a job. It was all about networking. I can tell you, I met the president of the company at a USO event. The president of the company is a huge backer of philanthropic efforts in Chicago and military, services like the USO. And I got an opportunity to talk to him, and I kept that relationship. And I kept the relationship with a lot of the people I met. Hey, sometimes you meet someone, you the next day or even that night when you get home from the event, you send them a message on LinkedIn. Hey, it was great to meet you. Let's have coffee sometime. It's just saying thank you. It's saying nice to meet you. It's building and maintaining those relationships. But over the course of 3 years, because that was 3 years ago when I met the president of the company, we've had a relationship. And when it came time for Hiring Our Heroes, I didn't go to Hiring Our Heroes. Traditionally, I asked the program coordinator, I said, I've got a company that's willing to take me on. Can I work with them? And Magellan, not only did they take me on, but they offered me a job a year ago. So knowing I was going to get out. And I think when you talk about networking, it wasn't through an application. It was, hey, come look at our offices. Let's have lunch. I had lunch with the 4 vice presidents of the company, and that's what we did. We talked, and that was it. And now I have a job, and I'm so thankful that they were to take me on, because Magellan was who I wanted to work for. There's something, I always thought, okay, I want to work at a nonprofit, or I want to work in the government. I want to give back. Mm-hmm. As I discovered here in Chicago, working with the senior business leaders, is the business of philanthropy is another way to give back. And that's where companies are donating to major philanthropic efforts, and their employees are expected to serve on boards. They're expected to volunteer a couple days out of the year on company time and then on their own time. So I found a perfect fit where I could go into the civilian community, give back philanthropic efforts, and it's just been an absolute blessing. But not only that, because of what I did in my networking, I had a lot of opportunities. For me, I was, in a sense, able to pick who I wanted to work for, because the key difference between a normal service member is we just don't have access to decision makers sometimes. That's why generals can get out and they're on a board of a major company, or they become a CEO, because they're constantly at those events with decision makers, and we're not. A lot of us, the normal service members. But having the opportunity to do that the last 2.5 years, it completely changed my mind about how I wanted to, move forward with my post-military career.
Yeah, that's a great segue, to talk about the significance and the importance of networking, and connecting with the right people who have decision-making abilities in an organization. You're absolutely right. I mean, absolutely, more senior leaders tend to have that combination. But I'll tell you that the equation that helps even the playing field in some respects, as much of a respect as one can, is getting on a network like LinkedIn and being able to interact, because there are a lot of hiring managers. I mean, hiring managers and recruiters are like superstars on LinkedIn, and they're the people everybody wants to know because they're the people who have the jobs. But it's a matter of interacting with people before you need their help. In your case, you met this person, you developed a professional relationship, and then at some point, that person thought highly enough of you to offer you a position.
That's exactly it. And one of the things that I learned when I first got here, I would go into some of these events and I'd have to tell my story 50 times of what do I do for the Army, and it was draining. And I learned to have that elevator speech, a very succinct speech. Tell them what you do. Tell them what you want to do when you get out. You really have to know, at least have an idea of what you want to do. You don't have to stick to it, but people want to help you. And if you can tell them what you want, they will help you. But if you say, hey, I don't really know, I'm not really, I'm just going to play it by ear, they have no where to go with that information. But if you say, hey, I want to be a librarian, they'll say, oh, you know what? I've got a friend that works at the city. Maybe they can link you up with the librarian and do all that kind of stuff. So people are constantly looking for ways to network and help you. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Don't ask for help. That shouldn't be the first call. It should be building a relationship. It's not, hey, I need something from you now. And there's a great book by Adam Grant called Give and Take that I suggest that anyone reads before they get out, because it really is about giving and giving information. Don't hold information. Don't hold it to yourself. Come up with a plan, at least an idea of what you want to do, and be able to formulate and communicate that to everybody. I mean, everybody, your aunt, your uncle, your neighbor, the guy at the grocery store. Tell it to everybody who will listen, because people will help you.
Absolutely. Now, listen, Renee, so we all help each other. And that includes in the comments section. So chances are you and I don't have the answer to this, but maybe someone in the comments section does. So Renee's asking, she received a master's in cybersecurity. She doesn't know where to start looking for a job. Can someone recommend a website? Someone in the comments section, you probably have the answer to that. So I encourage you to share that with them. So going back to the networking, I mean, I find, and I don't know if this experience is similar to yours, but I found that one of the keys to success as I was transitioning was having mentors. And in your case, because you were outside of the military environment, you probably picked up some civilian mentors as well. And I would suggest maybe we all should be doing that.
There's no doubt. In fact, I find that they're just more important, because if you look at the Venn diagram of knowledge of military members, it's all the same. We all know the same stuff. We're
institutionalized.
We're institutionalized. Our friends that got out, they had pretty similar experiences to us.
Yeah.
But civilians have a completely different experience. And I actually, again, very fortunate because of the job I had, but two of my mentors are civilian aides to the Secretary of the Army. The CASAs, and they're in every state. Same with the Reserve Ambassadors. They're very user-friendly, I found. But they both took me under their wing. Matter of fact, I ran into Jim Bland at the VA just the other day. So Jim Bland, who is one of the CASAs, and another one, Steve Herman, they both took me under the wing. They've both been in the Chicago community for a long time. One's a veteran. Jim Bland is a West Point veteran, works at a hedge fund. And then Steve Herman's a retired business leader, but he works with he knows everybody. And these guys, they know everybody. If they don't know them, they know someone who knows them. And these are the kind of people that can really tell you, hey, this is what you got to do. They're the ones that need to look at your resume. They're the ones that you need to ask those bad questions. We just don't know, and so
we don't know what we don't know.
And so you got to ask the questions. And then that's the other thing is, as I learned here in Chicago, is there's so much I just didn't know. I wouldn't even known what question to ask. But here in Chicago, I've just learned so much about the networking, about the mentorship. And people want to help you. I can't emphasize enough how much people want to help you. You just have to be able to tell them what you want. And if you can't tell them what you want, they can't help you. And it's something that I told myself. I was like, look, I got to figure out what I want, because I was kind of that guy. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Maybe go to business school. Maybe do this. And then I finally said, you know what? Come up with a sentence. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't even have to necessarily be. You don't have to put it in cement. It can be in pencil, but you need to be able to tell people something.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the mentors come in.
Yeah, I agree. And somebody to, bounce some ideas off of. I mean, but the bottom line is, I think that sometimes when we're coming out of the service, and surely this isn't for everyone, this is just, from my personal experience, sometimes you want someone to tell you what to do. And the reality is that really isn't. Or the other one is, this is what I do in the military. And you're like, okay, do you want to keep doing that? Well, this is what I do. Okay, but do you want to keep doing that? And sometimes people will be like, I don't know if that's what I want to, like, you're waiting for someone to tell you. And it does take some introspection and some time, but I think mentors can absolutely help you kind of work through that process to figure it out yourself. So that's really good.
And they'll tell you, I mean, they'll be honest with you. And that's what I really appreciate about, my mentors, is that I can call them up anytime. I can email them anytime. I can ask them any question, and they're going to be honest. Hey, maybe you should have done this, or maybe you should have said this, or I'll call them before I talk to somebody. Say, hey, this is what they're, saying. What should I think about that? I mean, we just don't know. And that's the thing. It's, you just got to be humble, and know that you have a ton of skills that the civilian world loves, especially our soft skills. We have a lot of wonderful soft skills in the military that translate perfectly. But like you just said, it may not be in the career field that you're doing now. It may be in something else. Like, for example, I sell steel, right? I mean, ultimately, if I boil it down, I'm a steel salesman. And that's not what I did in the military. But employers see the talent. They see you. They see the human capital. They know they can develop it. And that's how you get a job. And again, being open, honest, tell people what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. So Matthew McCoy asked a great question. And I think, I'm sharing this question. Matthew, I hope you don't mind. I'm sharing this question because it's an honest question. Sometimes when you first are getting ready to get out, you start sending out resumes, and then it's crickets. And you send some more resumes, and then it's crickets. And you're like, well, I'm doing it just like they taught me at the Soldier for Life TAP program, or whatever service, the TAP program, as you're getting out. And you send all those things out and you get nothing. You're like ghosted, and you don't know what's going on. And you start questioning yourself. Am I just not good? Am I not going to make it? I mean, what do I do? All these questions do creep in. And what I would tell Matthew and anyone else who's having trouble doing this and getting from point A to point B is, it starts through this networking process. LinkedIn is a great way to do it. Of course, LinkedIn isn't alone. We're also going live on Facebook, on YouTube. And so I encourage you to use those platforms as well. LinkedIn just happens to be one that's focused on professional engagement and discussion. But, it's a matter of finding people and doing some self-discovery and finding the right people, not just collecting. It's not like collecting Instagram friends, so you can brag to your buddies, I got more Instagram friends than you. But really, it's a matter of collecting people or connecting with people that are in a field that you're interested in, or at least doing some self-discovery and interacting with them to see if it's a field that you want to get into. And inevitably, if you have a professional connection with someone, you're always one step ahead. You had that. Yeah.
So, what I would say about that is it's tough to go through that process at this stage of the game, in a sense, because it takes time to build those relationships that get you the job that you want. And that's why I really encourage people at 19 years, 18 years, or whatever, 1 year, 2 years before retirement, to start reaching out to what area they want to go to. Go talk to the American Legion, talk to the same old cast, but you got to meet people. And American Legion, the VFW, there's other organizations in the group. Go volunteer somewhere. Those are how you meet people. You got to meet people, tell them your story, and eventually that network will start running. It is incredibly difficult to build a network overnight.
Yeah.
And I'd love to, I want to, recommend another book called Never Eat Alone. And it's a absolutely wonderful book. Every time you go out to lunch, go to lunch with somebody. Someone new, someone you don't know. Go, it doesn't matter where you are. You can go have coffee with just about anybody. Learn from people. But if you're not getting the feedback from a company, there's people who are already networking that their resume goes to the top of the pile, and
Adam, hold that thought for a second. Hey, Pablo, if this is boring, then you're probably in the wrong place, to be honest with you. Maybe you can start with adding your last name so that people know who you are. That's a start. If it's not helping, Pablo, it's okay. Feel free to DM us. We're not going to give you the info directly. And you know why? Because only you can give yourself the info. We can only lead you there, which is what people are doing. We're not going to send you names and numbers because that's your hard work. All we're doing is trying to point you in the right direction. So let's get off of this. And if it is pointless, then go ahead and move on, brother. Go ahead and move on. Adam, go ahead, please.
No, actually, you had just said something a little while ago where we expect people to just tell us what to do. It just doesn't work that way anymore. It doesn't work that way. People are not going to just give you a name and a number. Here, call this, get a job. It doesn't work that way. And I can tell you that if it's about, do people like you? Do they want to sit and have lunch with you? And I don't want to sit and have lunch with Pablo.
No.
And
many of us want to sit down with Pablo.
And that's how I got my job. I had to sit down and have lunch with 5 senior people at the company. That's what I did. I had lunch. And I talked about myself and was I able to talk, and are my communication skills good enough that they could utilize them in their company? Yeah. People don't want someone that just tells them, hey, tell me what to do and I'll go do it. I mean, that's great, but what sort of level are you trying to aspire for? We want the motivators, the go-getters. And that's why I say it takes a long time to build that network. It's not something that's done on the day you get out of the Army. And so I think that's one of the problems that transition service members have is especially if you move cities and you weren't building that network and you moved to a city, or you didn't build the network in the city that you're staying in, there's not a lot you can do. Now, I have, again, so fortunate to have this job that allowed me to network. I mean, my job was actually networking on behalf of the Army so that I could bring in government senior Army generals to talk to business leaders. So my job was networking, which is why I did a lot of reading about networking. Again, I recommend the book Never Eat Alone, because we just don't have that skill. The Army, branch manager tells you, hey, you're going here. That's how you get a job. Yeah. And that's not how it works anymore. And now you got to say, well, what makes me better than the other veteran getting out?
Yeah.
What's your sizzle, as they say, as you get out of the Army, and deciding what that is, what stories do you want to tell? It takes practice, it takes work. And I know this because I had to do it for 3.5 years on behalf of the Army, and I was drained, and I had to figure out a better way to do it. And I said, you know what, come up with sort of that elevator speech that'll help you. And then also what makes me exciting, what makes me different, and how can I relate to the people that I'm talking to?
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And it all goes back to interacting with people and developing relationships before you need them. You should want to bring value to them before you ask them to bring value to you.
Yes.
I think that's so important. And I think, LinkedIn, someone was talking in the comments about, LinkedIn being a great, platform. Again, there are other platforms. So please know, if you're watching us on Facebook, there's great benefit there. If you're watching us on YouTube, an incredible tool for teaching and for sharing knowledge. But LinkedIn just provides you a platform where people are focused on moving forward, and people are focused on helping each other. And like you said, there are so many organizations and so many people who are willing to, interact with you, help you, mentor you, network with you. And, one of the things that I wanted to share is, a lot of people, and if anyone's ever been to a Mike Quinn, Mastering LinkedIn workshop, he'll always ask everyone to pull out their phone, and he'll always ask them to search for someone who's kind of a hoity-toity, top-level person, and, find a connection with them and send them a connection request and ask for a few minutes of time to talk to them. And most of us, I know I personally, I was like, I don't know. This is a really important person. They're not going to care about, talking to me, a lowly guy getting out of service, what I have to offer. But, what's funny is because we had a shared military experience, that individual sent me a note and said, Jose, I got 15 minutes on Tuesday. Give me a call.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. And I learned so much more about the business that they were in, that helped me identify whether or not I was interested in that particular field. Network is everything.
What a great comment, because one of the things that I always thought I wanted was to work for a sports team. And I always thought, oh gosh, I want to work for the Chicago Bears or the Cubs or the White Sox. And believe me, I still do, in a sense. But having worked with them and got to watch what they do, I was like, this is a hard job. What I'd actually rather do is watch the game in the stands with a beer. and that's where just learning about those things, like you just said, it really can open your eyes. Hey, maybe this isn't something I want to do. I had another friend of mine, a Booth graduate, special forces guy. He works at Merrill Lynch, and he said, hey, come shadow me for a day and see if you're interested in wealth management. And so I went down there one day, and I got to learn about wealth management. I got to shadow the general manager of the United Center one day, which was incredible. Go Cubs. But I got a chance to see what he does, and he's in charge of 1,600 people in the stadium and every day, and you're like, whoa, this is incredible. So getting that network and just saying, hey, again, being humble, can I shadow you for a day? Can I come have lunch with you? Can I go see your office? I mean, people want to help you. I really can't emphasize that enough. When they find out you're a service member, you've been deployed or not, they want to help you. You've served your country. They want to do what they can to help.
Yeah. And, Randall shares, the 1 year free premium on LinkedIn subscription. So very useful, especially in that last 12 months prior to getting out of the service, or even better, wait just a little bit so it carries over past the date of your retirement, or transition. It doesn't have to be necessarily retirement, but they got great courses, as Randall talks about. He dropped some names, terrific courses, and I'll tell you, those courses really helped me because in some respects they helped me because I went in and looked at what a particular field did, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. So some of the self-discovery is figuring out what you don't want to do as well.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. It really is. Figuring out what you don't want to do, because we just don't know. I mean, there's a big world out there. It's bigger than just your MOS, and your skills apply to so many different areas. I mean, I'm very optimistic that there's a lot of opportunities out there for service members. You just got to have the courage to go to some of those cities that have the jobs. I mean, if you're looking to be the CEO of a company, you got to go where the companies are. And it does take a lot of courage. And I was so fortunate to be stationed in downtown Chicago. Yeah. I mean, the Army completely took care of me. You did. You're the one that sent me to Chicago. Allowed me to come. Maybe I was supposed to say that, but after I did my first sergeant job, I said, "Oh gosh, I want to go to Chicago." I want to go to LA or New York, but I'm so thankful I got to go to Chicago. Because we have those field offices in Los Angeles and New York. And I always thought I wanted to go there, but Chicago is. It's wonderful. I love it here. So.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, and I'm so glad you had a chance to go there. And while I recognize, not every service member gets a chance to do those things, I just encourage you to take a look at other locations. I think it was Zig Ziglar, who's a motivational speaker, and he shared that a significant percentage of people who had great success. Now, great success probably measured by money. So, success is determined by the person. It might not be money for you, but the vast majority of people who succeeded at something tended to succeed somewhere other than where they started. And that tends to be, for us, I mean, we all, I've lived in Fayetteville. I drank the Kool-Aid. I love Fort Bragg. I jumped out of airplanes and loved every second of being there. And there's a lot of successful people in Fayetteville. So please, I'm not trying to down Fayetteville. It's a great place to live. But for some people, the opportunity and the desire to step outside of that environment is overwhelming and scary. But, I threw up HireMilitary.us up here because you jump on there, you jump on a number of other agencies' sites. I just happen to represent HireMilitary, of course. But, you can search the jobs, you can search the locations. And the great thing with HireMilitary is they'll work with that organization to get you that internship / fellowship, whatever term makes you happy. But they will work with you to get that experience so that you can set yourself up. And you know what? The military allows you a free move wherever you want to go. So that's terrific. So it is absolutely useful. And I encourage you to take a look at those and to not just limit yourself by geography.
No, absolutely. And also research veteran-friendly organizations and some private clubs as well. So as an example, here in Chicago, we have what's called the Union League Club of Chicago. It's a very prestigious club in town, but what they do is they're very military friendly. They were originally founded by service members who fought for the Union after the Civil War. They wanted a place to get together, so they started this club. It's now a very prestigious club in Chicago, but what they have done is they have a very low price, no initiation fee for service members transitioning. So you can go and be a member of the club, and you have now access to business leaders. That's how I found the Business of Philanthropy Club. I'm in their book club. I go watch their author groups, and that's an opportunity to go meet people. Because I think, if you focus too much on just the job, you're going to get lost, because it's really about the full person. And I've found friends at the book clubs. I took up golf. I said, you know what? I need to take up golf, and I show up. I took golf lessons, and I got my, I'm shooting under 100 now, so that's good. I think I'm gonna get 80 this year. But what I'm able to do is I just show up to the golf place. Hey, you guys need one? And now I have 3 friends. Well, I got 3 people that I get to talk to. And here in my community of Highland Park, North Chicago suburbs, I'm talking to some, again, decision makers, and you just tell them what you want, what you are. Talk to them. Don't just be silent for 4 rounds or 4 hours of golf. Go talk to people. You got to go meet people. You got to volunteer. You got to do it.
Yeah. Hey, Larry had a great question and something that, of course, all of us have experienced. And, he says, Adam, how much has the pandemic interfered with everything you're doing? And the answer is in every possible aspect, huh?
So I am very fortunate. I was very scared that I wasn't going to be able to get a job during the pandemic. I had actually already signed my contract for the company a year prior, though. But at the same time, I did my Hiring Our Heroes program all online. We couldn't go into the office, and so I never really got to show them my skill set or prove to them that I was, a value to the company. Mm-hmm. But again, the owner, he took me on board. In fact, he even took me a month early. I was supposed to start on December 1st. When he found out that I was just sitting at home, he was like, start November 1st. Yeah. And even though the company's being impacted by the pandemic, he still took me on, which shows a lot about his character and the character of the company. But it didn't affect me that much, quite honestly. I got very lucky. Most of my problems came trying to transition out of the military, because I am here in Chicago and there is no Army base around here. So a lot of my problems were actually on the military and not the civilian side. Yeah. And there's a lot of companies that are actually doing very well right now. Abbott is here in Chicago. A few of my Hiring Our Hero fellows, they ended up with jobs there. Some of the financial institutions are doing really well. So there's still a lot of jobs available for military members. There's some businesses that are, of course, being impacted, but a lot of them aren't. Amazon's not being impacted. A few of my cohort members went to Amazon. Yeah. So there's still plenty of opportunities, especially if you go into that hiring our heroes program. That's been my experience. And I think it's because Chicago is such a big city. Again, there's just more opportunities. So it's the way it is.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely terrific. And I agree with you. And I'll tell you, since you discussed, some of the issues that we have as we transition, and this is painful and probably painful for some people that are in the comments section too. So who knows what Pandora's box we're about to open, but real quick, just what are, what particular things, were issues for you as you transitioned? I mean, I recognize, because you were away from an installation, maybe some of the finance stuff might've been difficult. I don't know, what were your issues?
Yeah. I mean, there was an issue with virtually every single thing because I had to clear and nothing's open. And so now we're doing everything via email. And I found that, one of my problems was getting all my personnel paperwork together, getting my medical records from the military was a challenge. But once I overcame that, it was actually pretty simple, because I don't have someone to hold my hand here. I was stationed with me and my lieutenant colonel. We were both transitioned. He actually retired 1 month before I did. So we were going through this process together. And we were just kind of going back and forth like, hey, what did you do? What did you do? And that's how we got through it together. But it was a challenge. Just turning in my, TA-50 for the final time. I had to drive, 3 hours up to Wisconsin. To do that. That was difficult. And then you have to set appointments for virtually everything. You can't just walk in anymore as of the pandemic.
I would say that's also probably on the installations as well, just because of COVID and, everywhere. So that's tough. Yeah, that is tough. Yeah. Especially when everything's for you.
I think one of the big things right now is VA disability. Because you can't get the appointments as early as normal because, again, of COVID, that took a little bit longer. So if you're about to transition, 6 months out, the minute you can drop that VA disability claim, get that in there because it took, I didn't have my first scheduled appointment until about three weeks before I officially retired. So in November and December is when I had to do all my appointments. I just got my first rating now, and they're rating as they go along. But that's a big one because there isn't a VA disability paycheck there when you want it. Of course, you get back pay, but that's a process you got to start early, especially now.
No, absolutely. And I'll tell you, the 6 month out thing is so incredibly important. I mean, it's there for a reason, the benefits before discharge. And, however long you think your medical records are going to take, add 60 days to because it can take a while. And I don't blame anybody. It is what it is. But recognize you're not just going to walk in to your local installation, hand them your ID card, and 10 seconds later, they're handing you a file or a disc. That's just not the way it works. Yeah. And without that medical record ready to go, you're going to put yourself at a disadvantage. And use that opportunity, that benefits before discharge program, so that you can, go ahead and set up your disability claim as early as possible, because the VA is behind. I mean, it is what it is. They're behind, and so they're working as hard as they can, I'm sure, but don't put yourself in a situation where it's even more difficult for you. So
yeah, especially if you're transitioning and expecting or counting that money for your retirement or your VA disability or both. You might not have that there. So that was another thing. I was incredibly worried about getting out. I wasn't 100% sure that the job would still be there for me. So I hoarded money. We were like, I don't know. The unknown is incredibly scary. So I definitely understand the feeling of getting out during COVID, because there was a lot of unknowns, and still there is. I don't know that my job's going to be there in a month, and that's for any job in any industry because of COVID. We have no knowing. So it's a very scary time to transition, but I don't regret it. I can tell you that. I love growing the beard. It's not as beautiful as yours, but I like the freedom. I like being Adam Shaw again. I'm no longer Master Sergeant Shaw, First Sergeant Shaw. It's nice to have that freedom again. I really enjoyed it. So
it's great getting our first names back, isn't it?
it's so nice. I forgot what it was. Yeah, Adam. Yeah, it's
yeah. Well, listen, before we go, I don't want to keep you much longer. And I know we have a lot of folks, and thank you to everyone who commented. Hopefully everyone, helped each other out with some of the resources. And I'm thankful to those of you who commented in a positive way and made every effort to make this a meaningful conversation. And so any final thoughts on your transition and advice that you would have for those who are following in your footsteps?
Yeah. Start networking early. Get on LinkedIn early. It's not the time to build a network the day you're leaving the Army. You got to start early. Tell your friends to start early, because it may be too late for you, but you got to tell them to start early. And that's the other thing, is give your friends that advice, particularly about LinkedIn, particularly about networking, because you want to have friendships when you get out. You don't want to be making friends and sending those emails that don't get answered. And that network, I'm telling you, tap into your family, tap into your friends, tap into the newspaper delivery guy, tap into everybody that you know, and just tell them what you want to do. Tell them you're retiring. Tell them your life story if you have to. But you need to let people know what you want, and they can help you. Because if you don't tell them what you want, they cannot help you. And I promise you that people want to help you. So
there you go. There you go. We'll leave it at that, my friend. Adam Shaw, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. We know you're very busy, and Happy New Year to you. This is the first time I've had a chance to talk to you since the beginning of the year.
Jose, thank you so much for having me. It was a real pleasure, and I encourage everyone to follow, of course, the page and reach out to their friends and family. Just reach out.
Absolutely. And as a reminder, HireMilitary.us, and of course we have a presence on LinkedIn. So please go to the HireMilitary page. We're looking to expand, and not so much for the sake of expanding, but to help service members and their families as they transition. Because we want everyone to be successful, and there's room at the top for everybody. So Thank you, everybody.